The sun was barely rising over the dusty streets of Makora, a small town where opportunity was a luxury and struggle was a daily routine. Most people here woke up before sunrise, not by choice, but by necessity. Among them was a young man named Samuel Otieno. At 22, Samuel was tall, thin, and quiet. His clothes were simple, his shoes worn, and his pockets were almost always empty. But inside his mind lived something powerful, something most people around him believed was impossible. A dream. Samuel wanted to become an engineer. He dreamed of designing machines that could help farmers work faster and easier. There was just one problem. Samuel had never even finished university. Samuel grew up in a small mud house with his mother and two younger sisters. His father passed away when he was only 10. From that day on, his mother worked tirelessly, selling vegetables in the local market just to put food on the table. Money was always tight. Some days, there was enough to eat. Other days, there wasn't. But despite their struggles, Samuel's mother held a deep belief in one thing: education. Every evening, she would tell him, "Knowledge is the only thing nobody can steal from you." Samuel took those words to heart. He studied late into the night under the dim light of a small kerosene lamp. While other children slept, Samuel devoured books about science, machines, and inventions. He had a natural curiosity for how things worked. Old radios, broken bicycles, even rusted farm tool sieve. Something stopped working in the neighborhood. Samuel was the one people called, "But dreams are easy when you're young. Reality gets a lot harder when you grow up." After finishing secondary school, Samuel was accepted into a university engineering program. It was the happiest day of his life. But that happiness was short-lived. The tuition fees were far beyond what his family could afford. His mother tried everything. She borrowed money and worked longer hours, but it just wasn't enough. After only one semester, Samuel had to leave. The day he packed his small bag and walked out of the university gates, his heart felt heavy. It felt like his dream had ended before it even had a chance to begin. Back in Makora, Samuel took any job he could find. He carried bags in the market, worked at construction sites, and repaired bicycles for a few coins. Every night, he returned home exhausted, but something inside him, his dream, refused to die. One day, Samuel noticed a common problem that plagued the farmers in harvesting crops. Took far too much time and effort. Most of them used old, inefficient tools that made the work slow and grueling. An idea began to form in Samuel's mind. What if he could build a simple machine to help them? He had no money, no equipment, and no formal training. But he had ideas. Samuel started collecting scrap metal from junkyards' old gears, broken motors, discarded pieces of steel. He converted a small storage shed behind his house into a tiny workshop. At night, after his day jobs were done, he would be in there, working, cutting, welding, experimenting. He failed, and he started again. Weeks turned into months. Neighbors began to whisper, "Samuel is just wasting his time. That boy should find a real job." But Samuel ignored them. He just kept working. One evening, after nearly a year of relentless effort, Samuel finally completed something he was proud of: a small harvesting machine. It wasn't perfect. It looked rough and handmade, but it worked. Samuel tested it on a small, nearby farm. The machine harvested crops 3 times faster than traditional tools. The farmer who watched the demonstration was stunned. "This could save us hours of work," he exclaimed. Word spread quickly through Soon, more farmers wanted to see the machine, and requests started coming in for him to build more, but he still had no money to produce them. Then, something unexpected happened. A regional agriculture conference was being held in a nearby city. Samuel heard about it from a friend. This was a place where companies and investors would gather. He had no money for travel or for the registration fee, but he refused to give up. He borrowed a small truck, loaded his machine onto it, and drove to the city. As expected, security guards at the conference entrance stopped him. "This event is for registered participants only," they said firmly. Samuel pleaded with them, "Just give me 5 minutes to show someone my invention." At first, they refused, but seeing the desperation and passion in his eyes, one guard felt a moment of sympathy and allowed him to enter briefly. Inside the bustling exhibition hall, Samuel nervously approached a group of visitors and began demonstrating his machine. Among them was a woman named Dr. Rebecca Lynn, an investor who funded agricultural innovations. When she saw Samuel's machine in action, her eyes widened in disbelief. "Did you build this?" she asked. "Yes," Samuel replied quietly. "How much funding did you receive for this project?" He just shook his head. "None." Dr. Lynn looked at the machine again, then back at the young man. A smile spread across her face. "You may not realize it yet," she said, "but you've built something that farmers everywhere need." 3 months later, Samuel's life changed forever. Dr. Lynn's company invested in his invention. With proper funding, a team of engineers helped him refine his design. The machine became lighter, stronger, and more efficient. Soon, it was being manufactured in large numbers. Farmers all across the country began using it. Production soared, harvest times dropped, and Samuel's name slowly became known in agricultural technology circles. 5 years later, Samuel stood on a stage at the very same university he was once forced to leave. He had been invited to speak to the engineering students. Looking out at the crowd of eager faces, he smiled. "I once sat where you are," he began, "but I had to leave because I couldn't afford to stay." The room fell silent. He continued, "Sometimes life closes doors on us, not because we failed, but because our path is meant to be somewhere else." He paused, letting his words sink in. Success isn't about having the best resources. It's about refusing to quit when the resources disappear. The audience erupted into applause. Samuel returned to Makora that evening. On the same dusty roads. But everything felt different. His small, makeshift workshop was still there, but now it was part of a growing factory that employed dozens of people from his community. Looking at it, Samuel smiled, because success doesn't always begin with money or connections, or even opportunities. Sometimes success begins with nothing more than a dream and the courage to keep working when everyone else says it's impossible. Thanks for watching. If this story inspired you, please like and subscribe for more.